Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our YouTube channel and our podcast that we haven't done for quite a while. 5 questions to a native speaker. And today we're having Nina. I'm so happy and excited about it because we have done such a great job together. Yeah, so we've been working together for quite a while now, and it's been so fascinating and marvelous. But before we dive into the questions, I would like to remind you that you can support our channel, and I'll give you the links in the description area. So please feel free to go there, check out the links and also the words, useful phrases, and collocations we will be using in this podcast. So, Nina, I'm really happy to have you here today.
Well, it's lovely to be here and thank you for having me.
Yay. Okay. Let's give our audience a little bit of background information on how we know each other, how we met. And I would like to hear your story first from your perspective.
Sure. Well, it's a unique story. Um, I met you. I'm from the UK originally. I have spent most of my life growing up in Australia from the age of 4. So my parents moved our family out to Australia because my father had a job transfer, and it was only meant to be for a period of 4 years. However, my parents fell in love with the country so much, they moved heaven and earth for us to stay. So, despite having spent most of my life in Australia, I never lost my British accent. So, no one really guesses that I'm from Australia or have spent most of my life there. Everyone thinks I'm British, except for the British people. They think I sound American, which I've never quite figured out why. But okay, there you go. So then, to make my life even more complicated, I met and married a Russian. So, and I met my husband in Bali, of all places. So, quite quite an interesting background. So, I'm here in St. Petersburg, living with my husband and daughter, and that's how I met you.
Yeah, okay. And we actually met not offline, but online.
Online, we did, yeah, we did. So
Yeah, okay. That was an interesting story. I couldn't expect to find you on Avita.
no, I've got my husband to thank for that. And everyone says it. I decided, okay, I can try to teach English because I'm a lawyer by profession. I've spent 12 years working as a prosecutor with the Justice Department. So I don't really have any association with teaching English. So I thought, okay, well, I could try this here in Russia. I didn't think anything at all could come of it. So my husband was the one who said, "Well, we'll advertise you on a veto, and we'll just see what happens." And I thought, nah, no one's going to contact me. No one's going to be interested. And lo and behold, some people did, and one of those people was yourself. And yeah, we worked together very well, and it's
Yeah.
been quite a success. Well,
Yeah.
you
Yeah, I'm so
know.
happy I found you.
Oh.
And we should definitely thank your husband for that.
No, we don't want to give him too much of an ego, but
Okay. Okay. Let's leave it aside. So you said you've lived in the UK, in Australia, and now in Russia. With this well-traveled background,
Mhm.
so do you feel like home anywhere in the world?
That's a tricky question. Ironically, I feel more at home in the UK than I do in Australia. Yes, Australia is a second home. Let's put it like that. Um, Australia is a home in terms of environment because I have grown up there. But I would say I definitely feel more comfortable with British people than with Aussies. Not to say there's anything wrong with Aussies, not at all. But I think there's just an element of familiarity, perhaps an element of coziness that I feel when I communicate with British people. Perhaps that's because I have family in the UK, quite a large family in the UK.
Mhm.
And I have gone back and forth to the UK most of my life since moving to Australia, essentially, to see them on holiday and whatnot. So I guess I perhaps came to Australia thinking this was a second home. And although I've been in Australia for, I think, lived there for 35 years, it's always been considered by me as that second home. The birthplace and the real home is the UK, despite not having spent so much time living there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you still have anyone in Australia?
Yes, my parents are there still. And on my father's side, I have cousins who live in Perth and their families. But my mother has the
Yeah.
bigger family population, and they're scattered all over the UK, predominantly in the north. Plus, my sister is in the UK and
Mm-hmm.
has been for the last 15 years. So it's, yeah, very scattered.
Whereabouts? So
She was
you
in
said in
London.
the
She's
north,
in London. Mhm.
London. Okay. Okay. How do you define home nowadays? So you said the UK is the first home of yours, and Australia is the second one. So what is home for you?
Do you mean like how do I define home?
Yeah.
Hmm, where you feel most relaxed, I suppose. And I guess I guess the reason why I don't feel so much at home as I do in the UK is perhaps because I'm very familiar with the British customs and the British traditions more than the Australian customs and traditions. They're much of a muchness on the one hand, but in the UK, having British parents, we always incorporated UK traditions or UK festivities with Christmas, for example. Christmases, just having a Sunday roast. A Sunday roast is having a roast lamb or roast beef or roast chicken with certain vegetables and whatnot. We had a lot of English food, a lot of English customs, going to the pub all the time. We don't
Mm-hmm.
have this culture so much in Australia the way they do in the UK. There's a pub culture in Australia, it's just for drinking. The UK pub culture is more family orientated. You go there to meet people, you take children and family members there, you celebrate your Christmas, your birthdays, any other festivities in the pubs in the UK. And a lot of the pubs are older buildings, they have history associated with them. It's this tradition that I grew up with. Even though I lived in Australia, this was very much incorporated in our day to day life. So I think that is the reason why I perhaps connect more with the British and feel more at home in the British, well, in the UK
Mm-hmm.
compared to Australia. Australia's culture is more associated with sport. They're very much into rugby, for example. They're very much into going to the beach. Beach life is a massive um, cultural behavior in Australia associated with barbecues on the beach, picnics on the beach, that sort of thing. Now, we did this, of course, living there, but it wasn't something we did as often, perhaps, as other Australian families.
Mm-hmm. Okay. A while ago, I was talking to a guy who was originally Russian,
Mm-hmm,
but he has lived in Australia most of his life. So he has adapted this Australian lifestyle.
mm-hmm,
And it was fascinating to look at him, the way he behaves, the way he basically lives his life. Yeah. And what I noticed was he would often go somewhere, anywhere at all during the weekend. So it was all about traveling, hiking,
mm-hmm.
camping, you know. So he was never indoors on the weekend.
Right. That's very normal. It's such an outdoor lifestyle. And that's the part that my husband loved when he came over there. He spent 5 years living in Australia. And yes, he loved the hiking in the hinterland. He loved the beaches. He loved doing the outdoor activities, which Australia has in abundance.
Yeah.
Um, Yes, of course, that's a little bit different from the UK where it's more indoors due to weather. But I mean, taking drives out in the countryside in the UK is also very popular. People will go to the coastal towns for a day out, but most of the time when you're taking a visit to, coastal seaside town, you're sitting in the car because it's raining. You're eating your picnic in the car because you can't sit out. Yes, Australia's got a lovely outdoor lifestyle like that. Barbecues are very popular.
Yeah.
Whether you're having a barbecue on the beach, many beach locations have public barbecues that people can use. So people will celebrate any kind of tradition, any kind of birthday, Christmas, just family get togethers at a sort of public barbecue area. So that's lovely. And we've done this as well. But I guess I just connect more with the British style of doing things because for Christmases, we all, not always, mostly went back to the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a big deal when we came all the way from Australia back to the UK. So our family would really go to town with making big roasts, big feasts and festivities, and
Yeah.
walking around the cities to see the Christmas lights. These
Mm-hmm.
are fond memories I have of childhood, which I guess makes that, comfortable neuro association with the UK because of
I think
family.
so. Yeah.
Yes.
It's all about
Mhm.
family gatherings. Yeah. And
Yeah,
the
where
warmth.
the warmth and the love is, that's, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Do you feel like your identity has changed a lot after living in such different countries like the UK, Australia, and Russia?
That's a good question. In short, yes. I probably do have a skewered identity because if you were to say to me, well, are you British or are you Australian? Or, I mean, my father's German, just to make it even more mixed. He spent most of his life in the UK. He moved to the UK when he was 17. So he spent most of his life living in UK more than in Germany, but has a very thick German accent in saying that. So people have said to me, do you have any kind of connection to Germany through your dad? And uh, and now being in Russia, no, I just have had this saying that I'm, the Aussie Brit with very strong German habits, because I'm very punctual. Just I'm a mix. I'm a blend. I don't
Okay.
think I can say I know. I though I feel more British, I know that the British don't see me as one of them quite in the same way because when they hear that I'm living in Australia, they definitely hear an accent. When they see what my last name is, they think, goodness, that's definitely not British. You've got a German last name. How did that happen? So there's always plenty of explaining to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I feel British, but I do feel a mixture. I feel like I've been heavily influenced by growing up in Australia. So,
Mm-hmm.
but in a positive way. I don't. I think I've got. I think I'm healthier as a person. I think I have a healthier mindset and a healthier attitude towards, like you say, outdoor lifestyle, healthy eating. Positive thinking, and that's something the British don't have so readily.
Interesting. And I think you
Yeah.
have this growth mindset as well, and you're very, very flexible.
Yes. Expansive mindset, perhaps, which comes with living in a, let's call it, new world country. When I
Mm-hmm.
say new world country, I mean America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, these sort of new world countries. Whereas the British are a bit more fastidious or a bit more fixated in their mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Speaking of languages, what language do you speak at home?
We've always spoken English at home. I did have, oh, here in my home,
Yeah, yeah.
um, wow, I speak English with my husband and my daughter, but we generally speak Russian because my mother-in-law lives with us, and we are trying to encourage our daughter to become bilingual. She's 3.5, and we moved here when she was about 20 months, so just around the year and a half mark. And we did that deliberately because we wanted her to be bilingual. So she spoke English with me at the beginning. Then she started her kindergarten about a year ago at the age of 2.5. And now her predominant language is Russian, which is fine, perfect. That's what we wanted. So she's
Wow.
hearing Russian more at home, but she must speak English with me. So, and what I've learned is that children, very young children, associate languages with the person. So one person has to be consistently speaking that one language if you want them to pick up the ability to be bilingual. So she'll speak English with me and Russian with her father and babushka.
Do you ever feel like you were forced to do that? Basically, like as you said, yeah, your daughter is supposed to speak English only with you, yeah,
Mm-hmm,
and she's supposed to speak Russian with her dad.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you ever feel forced that you are supposed to do that?
No, not at all. That's our choice. Definitely my choice. I
Mhm.
think it's so beneficial for children to be bilingual. And if you can start them being bilingual at an early age, it does wonders for their development. So
Mm-hmm.
I hope to encourage this. It would be tremendous. And given how difficult Russian is, because I am learning it, and it's, goodness me, I think it's going to take me millennia to learn this language and speak it fluently. So I would like, it's a massive benefit for her to speak these two contrasting languages, which I think are quite pivotal languages to have in the
Yeah.
world today, especially. So no, it's not, I don't feel forced to
Mm-hmm.
do it. I happily do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good because I always wanted my daughter to be bilingual.
Mm-hmm.
When she was a little girl, I was so, determined. But then I realized how much effort I needed to take. And basically, I was like, that's not gonna work out because she's like, I was looking at it as another activity of mine, another work to do.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Another
I
job.
was so
Right.
tired after my working days, and I was like, okay, here we go. So
Right.
I was definitely feeling it, as if I'm forced to make my daughter bilingual.
Ah, that's interesting. I
Yeah.
guess I don't feel forced to because English is my native tongue. You
Hmm.
don't have that.
Yeah,
So
but
it's been
I mean,
difficult for me.
I would be happy to do that if that was my only activity.
Yes.
If I was completely involved into that thing, like
Yes.
working with my daughter, teaching her, spending time with her and playing games and everything.
Hmm.
Yeah. But after the working day, I was so tired, I couldn't do that at all.
But on the flip side, I understand that Russian children learn English in school at a young age. So she still has the capability, the
My
possibility.
goodness, the school system is so wah 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 in
Oh,
that
right.
sense.
Oh,
Yeah, because they are focusing mainly on grammar, learning grammar, and they never focus on speaking skills. They don't have enough practice.
wow.
Yeah,
That's
that's
interesting.
why. So my daughter is in the eighth grade now.
Hmm.
She has been learning English for 6 years now at school, I mean, and
Hmm.
her English level is still A2 elementary.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, it's you have to balance that. I mean, I've had exactly that same situation learning Russian. I had a wonderful teacher, but she was very grammar focused, and rightly so because it's a very, very you need to know the grammar. It's a very difficult grammar, but we focused so much on it. We didn't really focus at all on conversation. And then my husband said to me, "Goodness, you've been learning Russian for 9 months and you still can't string a sentence together.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?" So now I've got another tutor who's just focusing on conversation. So
Hmm.
you have to balance them, yes. And I understand why some teachers want to be more grammar focused. Their theory is, well, you need to know the grammar before you can speak it. It's not just about speaking, you need to understand when people talk to you. And if you don't understand the basic grammar rules, how can you understand what is being
That's
said
the
to you?
thing which can only be applied to adults.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to children, they are not interested in grammar. Yeah, so
Oh,
they don't
yes,
need to understand the grammar. They need to practice. They need repetition. They need basically the involvement into the process first.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and only then
Um,
all the rules, yeah, should
mhm.
follow. Yeah, so yeah, sad story about this bilingual thing. Okay. But apart from this childish or childlike language, you can speak a very formal one because you used to work as a prosecutor.
Mhm.
Could you please teach us a few courtroom expressions? Uh,
Oh, yes. Okay.
yeah,
Well,
maybe you had to use them a lot. Yeah.
in the courtroom, you have to find words that very politely describe horrible situations. Because
Okay.
if I set the stage, think of it like this: I'm the prosecutor and I'm prosecuting crimes, and quite violent crimes. And as the prosecutor, you have to describe the set of circumstances to the judge or to the magistrate in order to justify why you are charging this person, the defendant, we'll call them, with whatever offense. Can be assault, can be robbery, can be anything up to murder, can even be just speeding.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have to disclose details, that can sound quite gory. You've got to find very fanciful words for it. So if I want to say that, in something like a sexual assault where somebody was raped, and if I have to go into all that gory detail, I will use words like the conduct of the defendant was just utterly abhorrent. Abhorrent and unconscionable. Now,
What
these
does
are
that mean?
abhorrent means revolting, means just absolutely unethical, disgusting behavior. So
Oh.
if I'm talking about, some kind of sexual violence, I often did use the word abhorrent because it was a nice, polite way to say that the behavior was just awful.
Mm-hmm.
Unconscionable, it's not unconscious, that's a different word. Unconscionable means absolutely immoral and unethical behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are behaving, if your behavior is unconscionable, you are doing something almost inhumane. Your behavior is just unspeakable. So
Mm-hmm.
these were words I had to use. Or if I'm arguing, for example, with the defense lawyer, this is the advocate who's in my opposition. And if I want to say something quite matter of fact, like, actually, what you're saying is wrong, I can't just be so blatant with my whole, oh, you're wrong and I'm right and shut up, sit down. I can't say things like that. So I have to say it very politely. I have to say, in response to my learned friend's submission, might I suggest to the court that these different set of circumstances in fact prevailed? So if the defense lawyer is saying no, what the prosecutor is saying is wrong, my client didn't behave in this abhorrent way, it was all an accident and all a misunderstanding, I would say, well, I would say, with all due respect, Your Honor, that is somewhat far-fetched. Um, I submit to the court that, in fact, it was the contrary situation that occurred. So all these words, it's like a dance. You're dancing this dance of clever, sophisticated vocabulary that really describes something quite inhumane and horrific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally understand that. Okay, let me try and recall a few words that you used. Abhorrent.
Abhorrent. Abhorrent. Mm-hmm.
Abhorrent. Does the stress go to the first syllable?
Yes, abhorrent.
Abhorrent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Far-fetched.
It would go on the second syllable, far-fetched.
Far-fetched.
Far-fetched means it's ridiculously fictitious. It's so far-fetched, it's unbelievable. If something is so far-fetched, it's too absurd to even
Absurd.
contemplate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Far-fetched is like absurd. Yeah.
Okay, and the final one, that was the phrase that you said, you mentioned it, but you didn't pay much attention to it. But I find it really interesting, especially when it comes to formal language. With all due respect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With all due respect, yes. That's like saying, I don't mean to be unkind, but what you're saying is completely wrong and utterly stupid. No, you're not stupid. But it's, I have even heard this said with American people. It's not just a British phrase. It's like you're trying to say, look, with all due respect, I don't want to seem unkind, but I really disagree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
I heard this phrase being used in some formal settings too. Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't remember, I can't recall the situation, but yeah, definitely they do use it in America with all due
But
respect.
the British might even fancify it a little bit. So in court, I might say, with the greatest respect to my learned friend, meaning the opposition lawyer who I'm against, these facts are somewhat far-fetched, and if I may be afforded the opportunity to present to the court the actual facts that are relevant to this case, I would like to say whatever, XYZ.
Mhm.
So you're using a lot of words to say something very basic. And that is the essence of law when you're doing trial advocacy. You're beating about the bush. It's an expression. I don't know if you've heard of it. When you beat about the bush, you're indirectly saying something. So, with all due respect, I don't want to call you stupid, but with all due respect, perhaps you might consider that what you're saying is not, not quite the case. It's
Mhm.
this, and you have to in court. You have to. You can't be frank. You can't be straightforward. You have to use this terminology.
Yeah, all
Mm,
those flowery, intricate
yes.
phrases.
Yes. But at the same time, you have to get to the point using all this flowery, waffly vocabulary. Mhm. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was so sweet. I definitely need to work on that vocabulary.
I've forgotten so much actually. I used to be to be an expert in all of this with 12 years experience of being in court almost every day. And now I haven't been a prosecutor since 2023. I've been here nearly 2 years. So I've forgotten so much of it. My goodness. Yeah.
No, you
Practice.
did a great job.
Thank you.
Okay, so now that you're teaching English, yeah, you have those speaking sessions and you keep hearing people speaking English and you listen to them, you pay attention to some of the words and phrases they use.
Mhm.
What words or expressions, collocations, do you think are misunderstood or misused by non-native speakers?
Mm, that is a good question. Um, I haven't come across too many, and certainly none that I can recall off the top of my head. But I have taught students, or I have actually spoken to students about English expressions. Things like, with all due respect, or beating about the bush, the one I mentioned earlier. And they found it strange. They took it too literally. Beating about the bush, what's the bush? What do you mean the bush? So you have to explain. I think with Russian, it tends to be translated quite literally and not translated to understand the purpose of the
Mhm.
actual expression. So that's the trend I've noticed. It's not so much a particular word or expression that is misread, it's more the intention of the expression that people
It's
misunderstand.
just that idioms are more common in English. Yeah.
Yes.
In Russian, I was thinking of a few idioms like I never, or almost never, hardly ever use an idiom in Russian.
Right.
Yeah. So like I speak normal language,
Yes.
just the usual, pretty straightforward language. Yeah. So, and we don't have as many idioms in Russian, at least not on a regular basis.
Mhm.
Yeah, like in English. And that's quite a challenge for Russian speakers.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I would think idioms are so popular in the UK, perhaps more than in America. I don't think even, well, Australians have their idioms as well, but they've come from the UK. And that's because, well, my theory, we have so many writers. Just to mention a couple, Charles Dickens, Oscar Wilde, he was a genius of idioms. I can send you pages of idioms that he wrote and invented. And he said it with ah such humor, I guess,
Mhm.
that they've become so memorable. So our idioms are part of our British literature and the history of our literature. I think even Shakespeare had them.
Yeah.
So it's just, yeah, I can imagine that
I
it's
think
not
so. Yeah,
popular in
they are
other
more
countries.
common in British English than in American one. Like I was reading a few books of American authors and Canadian authors. I love Margaret Atwood, and I wouldn't say she uses lots of idioms. She has got that flowery language, lots of expressions which are trying to, put a veil and hide things. But in general, yeah, not so many idioms. Okay. When you hear someone speaking English with a very thick accent, pronounced accent, what do you pay attention to first? First of all, grammar, pronunciation, or maybe something else?
I guess I would listen to the pronunciation. And what I love to do when I hear people speaking English is to guess where the accent is from. I love that. It's been a thing I've done for ages. And in some cases, I can get it pretty close. I flatter myself in saying that, but I mean, there are times I get it wrong as well. But in England, there are so many different dialects for such a small country. You will hear so many different dialects, definitely more than Australia, and I would even think more than the US. Yes, you have some dialects, but maybe two or three. You've got the Southern dialect, you've got the New York dialect. I think everything else sounds the same for me. Midwest dialect to some extent. But England, every county has a different dialect. So for me to identify that dialect, I need to listen to the pronunciation. And then you'll hear whether it's more Scottish or whether it's more Welsh or whether the accent's more Irish.
Yeah, that is about British, like native speakers, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and if you hear someone speaking English, I mean a non-native speaker, like a person from Russia, a person from, I don't know, India, not India,
Yes,
okay, bad example.
It's almost easier in some cases. I can definitely identify someone who's from a Spanish background when they speak
Okay.
English because you can hear just the words, the different pronunciation of vowels, and the way they roll their R's are definitely more distinct, the same as Russians because the British don't roll their R's. I can hear, I can identify Germans who are speaking English because I have a German father who with a thick Arnold Schwarzenegger style accent. And same with people from places like Holland and even, Scandinavian countries because they talk more at the back of the throat. So you
Okay.
have more this, you can hear, and chocolate, there's more
Oh,
emphasis on the
right.
syllables, which because languages like German are very harsh. You have that Achtung, Achtung kind of, so they incorporate that same motion with words that are in English. Same with the Spanish and Italians. So I do hear. I can now, having lived in Russia, I can hear when someone's of a sort of maybe Slavic background when they're speaking English. It's not so easy because I'm not so familiar with it, but I'm starting to recognize it now. But yes, generally, you can hear it's the pronunciation that tends to give it away because when they pronounce, you hear where they're pronouncing it from the back of their throat in that heavy German way, or whether they're rolling it like the Italians and the Spanish with their R's. It's these gestures that tend to give away the location most of the time. Sometimes I can get it wrong completely. So yeah.
Interesting. So you're basically trying to figure out, yeah, where they're coming from based on the pronunciation.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there something that you never pay attention to, even if a person is speaking some broken English?
I never give much attention to whether something is grammatically correct. Now, obviously, when I'm teaching English, I have to correct people's grammar. The problem with doing that too often, I found, and I even apply this to myself when I've been learning languages, when you're constantly correcting someone or when you yourself are constantly being corrected, you lose confidence in trying to speak, or they lose confidence in trying to speak. So I don't believe it's always necessary to correct people every step of the way if they make small grammatical mistakes. Correct the major ones, sure, but don't correct the minor ones. And if they are repeating these mistakes so often that you can't just ignore it completely, I tend to wait until the end of their sentence before I
Or
say
better,
great,
until
excellent.
the end
Just
of the
bear in
class.
mind, it's, you're saying this, you're saying were and not was. This sort of. So,
Yeah. This is what we call delayed error correction, right?
okay. Okay.
Yeah. So when we wait for them to finish and only then we correct them.
Right.
Yeah. And I also love giving feedback at the end of the class when we have already talked about something. Yeah. Not to ruin this whole atmosphere, not to let them down, because sometimes when they hear that they've made a mistake, they're like,
Yes, of course. No, you don't want to weaken confidence. No,
Yeah.
because that's a massive component to learning language, is having the confidence to actually speak it and try.
Yeah. So that's why we speak first, yeah, and only then we correct something if that was not okay. Yep. Lovely. Okay, that is fantastic. And I think that it will be such a huge thing for our audience, because most of the Russian people are afraid of making a mistake, especially a grammar one.
Oh no, goodness no. Don't be afraid. It doesn't matter, because the main goal at the end of the day is just wanting to be understood. And of course, keep in mind that the British culture, which extends to countries like America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, we are all very polite people, and that's part of our culture to be very polite. So we're not going to punish you if you don't get every syllable right or every pronoun correct. No, goodness, don't be bothered by that. Just, these little corrections will be polished with time when you become more confident and when you become more fluent. So my advice is, don't focus so much on the grammar. Just focus on learning the words and trying to say something, because, if it's not perfect, people will admire you for trying, and with time you will learn the perfect way to do it.
True story. Yeah. I would say communication matters. Yeah. So the attitude that you have, the confidence and everything, like the attitude towards a person is way more important than the mistakes you make.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So we've talked about English. How about Russian? Have you picked up any Russian words you now use all the time, even if you speak English?
Oh, I have, yes, a few words, but I didn't repeat them because, and it's my husband's fault, because the first words I learned in Russian were all the profanity related words. So, no, not really. I don't swear actually, especially having a young daughter, because the last thing you want is for her to pick it up. So, no, let me say, oh, I'm always saying dos vidanya now, even when I'm saying goodbye to friends. Dos vidanya has become so prevalent now. I'm saying it just automatically.
Wow.
Dos vidanya, yes, yes. And it's not even phrases, it's odd words. I'm saying malako instead of milk. And I'm trying not to do that because I want my daughter to hear the British, the English version. But trying to think, probably I don't have any, I can't think of any expressions just yet. No. So that says a lot about how poor my Russian is, that I can't even
It's totally
think of
fine.
things.
It's okay. I love the way you say "до свидания." It sounds really kind of a little bit harsh. Can you say that again?
Dos vidanya.
"До свидания," because your "o" sound is pretty much like British one.
I
Yeah.
know everything's at the front of the mouth. This is the hardest thing with Russian.
Yeah.
You pronounce things more in the back of your mouth.
Yeah.
And that's something I've had to learn. That's like a whole chapter unto itself of how to say more, and not bring everything to the front.
Yeah, true story.
Mm.
Yeah, but you probably should keep in mind that we reduce most of the vowels and we make them sound similar to this schwa sound, like in the word beta. Yeah, so this final sound. So you would say "до свидания."
До свидания.
To
To make it more
perfect.
fluent, до свидания, right? До свидания.
До свидания.
Got to think of the Spanish way of saying it. So beautifully and smoothly. Yes, okay.
Nailed it. Good job.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
now that I'm teaching Russian to my Canadian
And,
friend. Yeah.
oh,
So
right.
I can see those little peculiarities, where the mouth, the tongue is, the position of the organs of speech, and those tiny little details.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, it's fun. Actually, one phrase I am saying a lot because my daughter's staying at a lot. At a store, at a store. She's 3.5, so everything's what's this? What's this? At a store. And then I met an American expat who said it in such a, I guess, English way. Sto eta. But okay, even I can hear the accent in that. So it's funny. Idi suda, idi suda.
Oh, I love that one. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh,
motherhood
does she
requires
say
me to say it.
yes, ama?
Yes, Amma.
Yes, ama. Like I will do that by myself.
Uh-huh.
Let me
Ah,
do that.
okay. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the most typical phrase for a child, when they start walking and exploring the environment, like, let me do this. I will do that by myself.
Ah, I haven't got that far yet. Okay, I'll be prepared for this one. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I just get the whole niet. Niet. It is with that. Niet. Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, that's a fun one too. Okay, yeah. Cool. Oh, well, that's a wrap. Those were my 5 questions to you. Actually, maybe a little bit more, yeah, than 5, but they were all about language learning,
Mhm.
journeys, identity, children, and the way we talk to them. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Do
Right.
you happen to have any questions to me?
Hmm. I do have one question. So, first of all, how did you're one of the most fluent English speaking Russians I've met. So, where has your American or Canadian accent come from?
I think it's just that I follow lots of bloggers. I've surrounded myself with American content. And
Okay, where, right? Sorry.
yeah, and I've been practicing a lot, repeating. There is this technique which is called shadowing, when you basically take a piece of a video, an audio, whatever it is, you mark the pauses, you mark the intonation, and then you just keep repeating. And I've made a bunch of videos on that where I just keep repeating and repeating stuff. It took me a while, yeah, but I see the progress I've made, and it's totally flattering to hear that.
I'm going to try this technique with my Russian, actually. That's a very good idea. But where I'm going with that question is, do you find American English easier to learn than, say, British English? Because I have heard people say that.
Yeah,
That
in a
American
way.
English is easier
Um,
for them.
in a way that intonation is a little bit less varied in American English.
Hmm. Hmm.
In British English, you have that pitch, yeah, where your voice goes up and down, yeah, and it changes all throughout the
Yes.
sentence, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Does.
Yeah. While in American English, it's a little bit more like, just pretty much about the rhythm, and that's it.
Hmm. Hmm. Right. Okay. That's understandable. That would be easier, definitely, to learn.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But British English is still like music to my ears, this melody, this speech, beautiful sounds, and everything. So,
Oh, that's nice. I don't know if my accent's as strong as what it used to be, but yes. Well, yes, I think I like all accents. I don't dislike one more than the other. I love the Scottish accent. I mean, I think that's a scream. I don't understand it much, but I do like to listen to it. But yes, I can understand that it would be easier for someone who's foreign to go with American English or to understand it more. It's slower, more constant, more level compared to the British English. And we talk very fast. I'm hoping actually that I'm not talking too fast. I make that mistake all the time. I even had judges in court telling me to slow down.
I
Yeah,
don't think it's about the nationality, trait or something like that. Uh, it has nothing to do with the accent. I think it depends on a person,
sure.
personal.
Yes, of course it does. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
because I tend to speak really slowly in Russian, in English. Doesn't really matter. I need time to process.
Funny. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I know people who speak really quickly in American English. Yeah, so
Mhm.
yeah, it's totally up to a person, yeah, the way they speak.
Right.
And I
Yeah. Of course.
always say to my students when they want to speak fluently, when they want to sound better, this is what they say. And I'm like, and they start practicing
Hmm.
and they feel like they are not keeping up with the speed of the speech, yeah, they are listening to. I'm like, do you speak slowly in Russian? Do you speak Russian in this kind of way? And
Hmm.
they usually say, yeah.
Right. Okay.
So we don't speak quickly, and you cannot do it, yeah, in American English. With American English, you cannot start speaking quickly if you speak Russian really slowly.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can just practice connecting sounds, make your speech a little bit more fluent. Yeah, but in general, the speed will be more or less the same.
Hmm. Okay. Yes, that's true.
Thank you so much, Nina. It was so fun and so nice to have you here. I had so much fun with these questions and your answers. I will definitely make a list of all the useful phrases we've used today. I think I've heard a lot of them.
Oh, thanks very much for having me. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you. And yes, definitely. It's been so interesting to analyze how we teach and the differences in languages and cultures and the like. So thank you very much.
My
It's been
pleasure, my absolute pleasure. I actually hope to have you one more time later.
of course, absolutely. And
Thank you
again.
so much for coming. So let's just say goodbye to our audience and I'll see you soon, guys.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye
До
bye.
свидания.